Shalom, shalom, Hebrews and Shebrews, Boca Tov, Baka Tawab, however you dialect it, meaning good morning. I'd like to say grace and peace to everybody. All honor and praises to the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, in the name of his son, Jesus Christ, Amashiach. So I'm giving y'all an early morning. This is an early morning tip to the those in the faith out there. And so I'm making this real quick. I may do some of these a little more often, but it's an early morning tip. I think we got a habit, not just in Israel, but in the world, of always pointing out the faults of other people instead of ourselves. It's a real easy thing to get caught up in, y'all feel me? Rather it's the man always saying a woman made him a certain way, or he did something because of his woman, or if a woman saying it's because of the men she dealt with, or brothers, it's the way, this is why sisters the way they are, or rather it's believers saying that they this way because the other set of believers or people so-called in the truth are behaving a certain way, so it causes them to be this way. And so if we are truly in the truth, I just want to give two precepts real quick that I think we should all take heed of, right? And key word, we in the truth. Another key word is examine thyself. Another key word is reprobate. So I want to go to Psalms 26 real quick. It says, "Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in the Lord. Therefore I shall not slide." That's like backslide. "Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart." Right? "For thy loving kindness is before mine eyes, and I have walked in thy truth." So that take a lot of guts. Do you got the courage to ask the Most High to examine you? Because trust me, he's doing it anyway. But do you got the courage to do that? You know, to see that you won't backslide. You know what I'm saying? And that you are truly walking in his truth. And you walking in his ways. And to examine your heart, which is your thoughts, your mind. You know, what you truly desire to do. Is it legit? Instead of focusing on what everybody else is doing, we got to focus on ourselves. And like I say, this take a lot of courage and a lot of gumph to go before the Most High and say, examine me. Because he'll show you. And it's probably best that you do that because he's doing it anyway. But by you doing it, that gives you a chance to correct yourself. He'll give you a warning and show you, like, yeah, man, you're doing this wrong. You know, before you wind up sliding, and then you might slide off into a ditch, and that's where reprobate come in at. So I want to go to this second one, law and testimony, right? Meaning as far as the old and the new. You know, the term law gets thrown around generically sometimes when you get in the New Testament. That's why I say the laws, the prophets, and Psalms, and all of that. That's another story, but most of y'all know what's going on. So I want to go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 13. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. So we stand on this narrative right here. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. It says, "Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates," with a question mark. "But I trust that you shall know that we are not reprobates." So, yeah, we got to examine ourselves, man. So, if you ask the Most High to examine you, he gonna show you something. And in that process, by doing so, it's gonna cause you to examine yourself. Because the one thing you don't want is you keep up in that activity and you wind up getting reprobated. right? And the scary thing about being a reprobate, that's why I tell people don't throw that term around so loosely. You ain't in no position to say somebody a reprobate like that because it's really hard to tell. But the scary thing about being reprobated is you don't know you reprobated. You see it. And this is how you do it. This is why the law comes up, because if you got people running around here saying that they, like, let's say they start preaching crazy doctrines like you can't eat meat. It's one thing to say you prefer to be a vegan because you want to go back to the old way before the flood and all that type of thing. That's one thing, because of health benefits and all that, and you just can't trust a lot of this flesh out here now. That is a noble thing. But to make it a sin, you're actually, when the book keep telling you you can eat meat, it's even part of a religious ceremony at times. And he tell you what's the good meat and the bad meat. It don't mean it got to be part of your regular diet. You know, it could be like a what they call it, not aphrodisiac, a delicacy, right? And sometimes it was required, right? So this is what Romans 14 talk about. You know, when the cats was battling about being veggie brews and being flesh eaters, it lets you know that's goofy. And there's a lot of people that's weak in the faith that start those kind of doctrines because they literally are not strong in the faith because they don't believe when God say these are clean to you. They are good to you. They more caught up in the conspiracies. And some of it is true. And conspiracy don't mean false either. I don't want to say that. But they so worried about that to the point where they making it a sin. That's the problem. Now, if you just don't want to deal with it because you don't trust it, because they got all type of stuff going on, dig that. But you get to the point when you start preaching a doctrine, and I'm just using that as an example, because that's usually when you start noticing people getting bugged out. Like I know a lot of veggie brews in Israel. Like Hebrew Israelites may have the largest demographic of vegetarians and vegans. You know, out of all the groups, so that's quite common. You know, but you got this select little few that's bugged out. Like in a minute, they're gonna be saying, you know, all you can eat is air. And if you eat anything, because they tainting the ground too. People don't even notice. The ground been tainted since the fall of man, but that's another story. So yeah, man, it tells us we got to examine ourselves. Let's stop pointing the finger at everybody else and see what we doing wrong. Because 9 times out of 10, if you ever just sit there and be like, man, Lord, let me check myself out. You know, I shouldn't have did that. Or I need to stop doing this. You ain't got no time to be thinking about nobody else. Then you will start seeing things change. Skip down to verse 8. For we can do nothing against the truth but for the truth. Right? So you can't do nothing against the truth. If you truly in the truth, Joe, you know the truth is the truth. It's gonna be what it is. The truth is the truth. So if you truly in the truth and you don't want to get reprobated, you know, examine yourself, Israel. And that goes for all of us. Shalom.